We were together since school, but we broke up over the phone, like strangers. We'd been together since the schoolyard. First love, first forever, first dreams about the future. We went through everything. Late night calls, hitchhiking trips, tears from happiness, and then came distance. And with it, unfamiliar touches, silence, and one final conversation that ended everything with a single word. Sometimes I think, if I could rewind time and be that 16-year-old guy again, the one who bumped into her in the school cafeteria, I'd still choose that moment, even if I knew how it would end, even if I knew how much it would hurt years later. I'd still go down that road, because despite everything that happened, she was my beginning. We studied in parallel classes. I knew who she was even before she ever looked at me. Just because everyone knew her, she wasn't your typical popular girl. More like someone who belonged everywhere, in the gym, in the library, on stage, the kind of person who was full of life, light, and realness. You couldn't not laugh around her, and it was nearly impossible not to fall for her. I wasn't an exception either. First, we were just acquaintances. Then, small talk in the hallway, then came study sessions, late night chats, and sharing playlists. She had a weird taste in music, and I loved that. She wasn't afraid to be strange. I was. She pulled the real me to the surface. Things just kind of happened naturally. Our first kiss was after a school festival, in pouring rain. I was soaking wet, had forgotten my umbrella, and offered to walk her home. She had a hood. I had a dumb jacket with a zipper that jammed at the worst moment. We laughed like kids, and suddenly we just stopped in the middle of the street and kissed. No lead up, no words. From then on, we were inseparable. We spent the entire summer after graduation together. Hitchhiked around the region, camped out, ate from tin cans, argued over who cooked worse noodles, and kissed under the stars. Tea was the best time of my life. No noise. No rush. Just as two teenagers who believed this was love till the grave. We got into different colleges but promised not to give up. We agreed we'd make it. That distance wasn't a problem when it's real, and it was real. I never doubted it for a second, but I didn't yet understand that real love doesn't always survive distance. Sometimes it just grows in different directions, and one day you wake up and realize you're still saying I love you. But those words don't carry the same meaning anymore. Our colleges were in different cities, a few hours apart by train. We were both sure it was temporary, that after school, we'd move in together, that these years would fly by like a week. We even made lists of where it would be more comfortable to live. She wanted the sea, I wanted an old city with coffee shops. We joked, we dreamed, we planned. We were so confident. The first year was nearly perfect. Every evening, calls, sometimes we fell asleep on the phone. I'd send her morning voice messages, she'd send me nighttime ones. On weekends we'd visit each other. We wrote letters, she mailed me printed photos from our summer trips. I made playlists for your walks home. We were still us, just with slightly more complicated schedules, but in the second year, the routine set in. Studies got harder. She had internships, I had lab work. First, we just talked less. Nothing seemed wrong, just tiredness, right? Then, our calls shifted. I'll call later turned into sorry, I fell asleep. Still, everything looked fine, but I could feel it. Something was slipping away, like water through fingers. I felt us drifting apart, but I blamed it on stress. On winter. On life. I thought, we just need to hang in there, hang in and visit, sit together, talk, hug, put things back in place. She became more distracted, sometimes forgot what we'd talked about 2 days ago, didn't finish the movies I recommended, didn't listen to my playlists. I noticed, and pretended not to, and then he appeared. First, just a name, someone from her new project group. Then, he started popping up in her stories more often, casually, but consistently. I remember one story where he stood just a little too close, not touching her, but invading the space between them, and something inside me clenched. I didn't say anything, just asked a few neutral questions. She answered easily, almost indifferently. Didn't hide, but didn't offer anything either, said he was just a guy from class. And I believed her. Or wanted to believe. Because the alternative was worse. It didn't happen like in the movies. No tears, no yelling, no dramatic confrontations. There wasn't even a real conversation. I was sitting in my room late on a Friday night when I got a message from one of her classmates. We barely knew each other. Had only met a couple of times when I visited. She just wrote, I'm sorry, but you need to know. I can't watch this and stay silent anymore. And then she sent a screenshot. A conversation between my girlfriend and that just a guy from class. There wasn't any explicit sexting, but what I saw was worse, flirting, words that touched, references to a night they shouldn't repeat, but couldn't forget. It was emotional intimacy. It was betrayal. I stared at the screen for a long time. My heart didn't beat faster. It actually felt like it stopped. I sat there in complete silence. Then I went back to our archived chats from the last few months, started rereading everything, listened to how her tone grew colder, watched her I love you fade, from warm to mechanical. I saw her leaving. I just didn't want to admit it. I didn't start a fight. I didn't call to accuse her. Didn't cry in her DMS. I just shut down. I didn't declare a breakup. I went quiet, because not even anger could break through the numbness. 2 days later, she texted, "You've gone silent. Are you okay?" I replied, "No. But I'm alive." She suggested we talk. I agreed. We talked for a long time. I barely raised my voice. She cried, said she didn't mean to hurt me, that it was just one time, that she was feeling lost, that she didn't know how to tell me, that she still loved me, that if she could erase it, she would. I didn't know what to feel. I wasn't even sure I could feel anything at that point. Inside, it was like a house after a fire, smoke, ashes, charred walls, but somehow I forgave her. I told myself that everyone makes mistakes, that love is work, that real love survives tests, that I wasn't ready to lose her over one night and someone else's hands, but I didn't realize I wasn't forgiving what happened. I was forgiving what would never be again. After our call, she came to visit for the weekend. I met her at the train station with a strange feeling. Not certainty, not joy, more like opening an old book and hoping the ending had changed. We hugged. Awkwardly. I knew her scent. It was painfully familiar. But at the same time, something felt off. Not the perfume, not the soap, something deeper. The meaning had changed. We spent 2 days together. We walked around the city, sat in cafes, laid next to each other on the couch. She tried. I could see it. She laughed, touched me gently, looked me in the eye, but in her eyes, there was no depth, not the kind that once connected us without words. That first night, we just lay there. I was on the edge of the bed. She was closer to the middle. There was maybe half a meter between us. But it felt like a mile. I wanted to hold her, but I couldn't move my hand. I was afraid she'd let me. Not out of love, but out of guilt. She fell asleep before me. I laid in the dark, listening to her breath and feeling my heart tighten. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even pain. It was emptiness. The kind that comes when you stop believing in someone's words, even when they sound sincere. In the morning, she made breakfast. Too carefully, she smiled stiffly, talked about some professor, a project she was working on. I nodded. At one point, she said things would be different now, that she wanted to prove she still loved me, and that's when I realized I didn't want anyone to prove anything. I just wanted love to be, without needing defense. When she left, the apartment felt too quiet. I opened a window, played one of her old playlists, and listened to the wind playing with the curtains, and in my head, only one thought circled: we are not together. We are just afraid of being alone. We didn't officially break up. Not then. On paper, we were still a couple. I still ended my messages with a heart. She still said she missed me. But the silence between us kept growing. It didn't scream. It replaced everything else. I found myself not wanting to share anymore. I used to tell her everything. How my day went, what inspired me, what thoughts popped into my head during lectures. Now, I stayed quiet. It felt like anything I said would disappear into a void. She stopped writing first. Her replies got shorter, dry emojis, where once we breathed in sync, now it felt like she inhaled when I exhaled. I started hearing his name again. Casually. I end jokes. I end her stories about group projects. She wasn't hiding it, and somehow, that hurt more, because I knew he was still around. Eventually, I suggested coming to see her, not for a visit, but to talk. For real. No screens. No smiley faces. She didn't respond right away. Later, she wrote, "I'm not sure. There's a point. I've been thinking a lot. Maybe we've become just friends. I don't want to lie to you, or myself." I reread that message at least 20 times. Every word felt like a nail, but I didn't break down. Only bitterness remained. We talked on the phone. She cried. I stayed calm. And at some point, I realized there's nothing left to save. What we tried to rescue had already drowned. We didn't say goodbye dramatically. And oh, I still love you. No final speech. We just let go, each into our own silence. Update: 1.2 months have passed. Not once have I texted her, not because of pride, but because I knew any contact would reopen the wound. I deleted our messages, but I kept the playlists, deleted her photos, still remembered her voice. I wasn't angry, but I hadn't truly forgiven her either. The first few weeks were the hardest. I slept maybe 3 hours a night, not because I was crying, but because my brain just wouldn't shut off. I kept replaying our old conversations, trying to find the moment we lost each other, the wrong word, the silence I shouldn't have left unanswered. Sometimes I thought I had imagined it all, that there was no love, just a dream. But then I'd remember her hands, how she tugged at her sleeve when she was nervous, how she laughed when I said something dumb, and I knew, no, it was real. It just ended. I started going on long walks alone, listened to music, watched people, saw couples on the street, and felt something strange. Not envy, not longing. Just attachment. Like love had become a movie I no longer starred in. Point 1. Night, I hung out with a friend. We sat on a rooftop, drank wine out of plastic cups, looked at the city lights. She knew I was going through something. Didn't push, just stayed nearby, and suddenly I felt something. Something simple, real, and wordless, and for the first time in a long time. It felt a little easier to breathe. Update 2. It's been almost 6 months. I've learned not to think about her every day. Not to wait for her messages. Not to look for her face in a crowd. I became myself again, but a little different. A bit more cautious. A bit more quiet. But alive. And then, one night, on a random weekday, I got a message from her. Short, I'm sorry if it still hurts. I just wanted you to know. I remember. No greeting. No signature. No let's talk. Just that. Like someone silently placing a hand on your shoulder and pulling it away right after. I stared at the message for 20 minutes. Didn't get angry. Didn't relive the past. I just felt something click inside me. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to be above it, but because I knew there was nothing left to say. Everything that had to happen had happened. Everything that could break already broke. And everything that remained was experience. Bitter, but real. She never wrote again. And neither did I. It wasn't an ending. It was closure. The final. My heart still held onto. Now, I could move forward. Without looking back. Update 3. It's been a year since that conversation that ended everything. In that time, I changed apartments, finished my course, worked on myself, and even went on a 2-week solo trip. No route, no connection, just me. And the road. And I met someone, not right away, not on Tinder, not through friends. Just randomly, in a bookstore, picking out a gift for my nephew. She was different. Completely calm, soft. She didn't look at me like she was scanning. She looked like she was listening. With her, everything was easy. No plans. No who owes what. No attempts to prove I'm better. Just two people with cracks in their pasts, trying to build something honest. I waited a long time before telling her about my ex, about how it ended. And then, one day, I just did. No self-pity. No blame, just the truth. She listened, then said, you talk about it like someone who didn't break, but someone who survived and grew. And in that moment, I realized I hadn't just survived, that I had crossed to the other side of pain. Yes, that love was real, but not eternal, and I let it go for real. Now, when I hear that old school playlist, I don't cry. I smile because it happened, because I lived it, and because now I have something new. No illusions, but full of hope. If you're in the same place I was, on the edge, full of doubt, with a lump in your throat and pain flooding your chest, know this: you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not weak. You're not weak if you forgave. You're not weak if you tried to hold on. You're not weak if you cried. You're not weak if you walked away, and even if you stayed longer than you should have. It just means you loved, and love isn't foolish. It's a risk. It's stepping into the unknown and hoping someone catches you. Sometimes they do, sometimes you fall, and still, it's worth it, because to love is to live fully. And pain isn't the enemy. It's part of the journey, the part that makes you softer, deeper, quieter, but not broken. I don't know how my new story will end, and I don't want to know now. I've learned to live in the moment. To look someone in the eyes. To listen, not just to words, but to the silence between them. If someone had told me a year ago, you'll be okay, I wouldn't have believed them, but now I'm saying it to you: you'll be okay. You already are, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Breathe, live, and when you're ready, open your heart again, not so someone else can fill your emptiness, but so you can share your fullness with them. Well, that's all. Write your opinion in the comments. Watch our previous video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if for some reason you haven't done so yet. And good luck to you.